Good afternoon. It is Thursday, January 28th, 2010. Well, this is my response to Obama's State of the Union address last night, which most of you probably saw. It was very predictable for me. I knew that it would be full of vague platitudes, typical Obama speechwriter style. I knew it would be full of stories about individuals he ran into on a campaign trail, like the single mom from Arizona, and blah, 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 in an effort to try to relate to the common people. I don't think Americans are buying it, especially in light of the events over the last year. But anyway, I'm going to go one by one and end with a couple positives, believe it or not, that I agreed with Obama on, even if they're a little insignificant. But first, let's talk about Obama's comments on the financial system and the economy. This was just laden with hypocrisy and contradictions all over the place. First of all, he criticized the government rewarding bad behavior, and I agree 100% with that. The government shouldn't reward bad behavior. Government shouldn't reward anybody, in my opinion, but especially bad behavior on Wall Street or banks. And then he said he hated the bank bailout. I mean, are Americans going to buy this still, considering Obama supported the bank bailout and that Obama's Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, while he's saying this, is in the front row grinning? I mean, this guy's Tim Geithner. I mean, I don't even want to get started on him. He's a just blatant criminal. Some of the allegations coming out about him right now, when he was in charge of the New York Federal Reserve, are enormous. So Obama's entire administration is full of these crooks who have, over the entire last year, supported rewarding bad behavior. So Obama can't all of a sudden come out and say that he's against that without coming across as a total hypocrite. Then he makes another hypocritical statement by criticizing the Bush deficit. Again, I completely agree. Bush spent way too much money. We've talked about this in previous blogs. But Obama's continuing it. You cannot, on one hand, nail George W. Bush for deficit spending and increasing national debt, and then turn around and not only continue the Bush deficit spending, but expand it to unprecedented levels. Again, just hypocrisy left and right. He criticized. He tried to come across as anti-bank, but not once did he mention the central bank, the Federal Reserve. And I've talked about this so much on this blog. I mean, I don't need to go too much into it, but you cannot address banking in the United States and attack banking in the United States without bringing up the central bank. Ben Bernanke, who is up for reappointment, I believe today, we'll see how the Senate votes on that. Ben Bernanke is the top banker, and yet Obama wants to reappoint Bernanke? So how can Obama claim to be anti-bank and then support the number one banker in the United States, who controls half of our nation's economy? In other words, he controls the dollar, which represents 1/2 of every economic transaction in this country. The Federal Reserve, I've said it over and over, was the main culprit behind the economic collapse in 2008, because it provided the easy money and easy credit and low interest rates that fueled the housing bubble and fueled all the problems that came along with that. So he doesn't talk about the Fed, and at the end of the day, he supports Ben Bernanke, which is the number one banker. Obama is not anti-bank. He's in the pocket of the Federal Reserve. And it's not like he neglected to mention the Federal Reserve out of ignorance. He knows very well what the Federal Reserve is, what it does. He knows this. He's just in their pocket. Obama works for corporate America, for banking interests. He does not work for us. It's all a show. I mean, I don't know how intellectuals and leftists still buy into this garbage, because it's just blatantly obvious to me, and to most Americans at this point. What else did he say? He said the stimulus saved jobs. I mean, it's an impossible thing to even calculate. But what leftists don't do when they make statements like that is they don't consider the jobs in the private sector that were lost because capital was taken from the private sector to the public sector. How many jobs were lost because of this stimulus? How many jobs have been lost because of all the government spending that has taken money from private individuals who would have otherwise used it as capital for for new businesses, to expand business, to hire new employees. So he doesn't consider that whatsoever. It's just bad economics. Obama's solution to everything: government do this, government do that, government build. He said the government needs to build a high-speed railroad in Florida. Something. No, it doesn't. The government needs to not do anything. The problem with the last 8 years under Bush was that the government was doing everything. The government did this, the government did that, the Federal Reserve was printing money, the government was borrowing money. We had record deficits. That's what created the problem. The solution is not more government. The only solution Obama has is more government, and we really we need to turn away from that. And I'm not talking about a neo-Reagan idea. I know Reagan said was talking in that sort of language about how we need less government, but Reagan still had a large defense budget, and what Reagan didn't realize, or what he didn't articulate, was that a large defense budget is still government. What we need to do is eliminate or cut across the board defense budget, domestic budget, and start paying off this national debt. All right, finally, foreign policy. In case you haven't heard, last night Howard Zinn, the famous historian and anti-war activist, one of my intellectual heroes, I have disagreements with him over a lot of economics, but foreign policy-wise, he's a huge influence on me. I first read him in 11th grade. His death last night, in my opinion, symbolizes the death of the anti-war left. Because the left, I mean, there is no anti-war left anymore, as far as I'm concerned. Obama is pro-war through and through. He made a case for expanding the war in Afghanistan, but then he came up with another hypocritical contradiction. He said, quote, "We will respect the rights of the Afghanistan people." Respect the rights of the Afghanistan people. We're bombing them with droned aircraft. We're killing innocent women and children who have nothing to do with Al-Qaeda, who have nothing to do with terrorism. How is that respecting the rights of the Afghanistan people? This is Orwellian doublespeak. Obama, I'm sorry, I'm getting excited here. I mean, this, like I said, doublespeak. I mean, we're not respecting the rights of Afghanistan people. We're doing the opposite. We're killing them. All right. Then he said combat troops out of Iraq by August. I don't believe it. I mean, and even then, he says combat troops, which means we'll still have residual forces. We'll still be spending billions of dollars in Iraq, way beyond August 2010. And besides, the Democrats promised in 2006 in the congressional elections, and this is why I voted for Democrats in that election, was that we would be out of Iraq by 2008, I believe. I mean, we need to leave already. Come on, it's been 7 years. Let's get out of there. Again, the death of the anti-war left. And then where's Guantanamo Bay? We were supposed to leave Guantanamo Bay a few weeks ago. We haven't. Guantanamo Bay is still under effect. Obama criticized torture, yet we're still doing waterboarding. We still have secret prisons overseas. I mean, just hypocritical statement after hypocritical statement. I'm getting really riled up. It just angers me. It really does. But it inspires me too at the same time. Laugh out loud moment of the night. He said that there was a scientific consensus, an overwhelming scientific consensus on global warming. I mean, do I need to say anything more about that? That has been proven false in the last few months, especially with the recent mistakes that have been revealed from the IPCC report. Oh, and then he also said that that government is full of honorable men and women. I mean, I don't even need to comment on that one. The two positives, I promise I'd give you a couple. Nuclear disarmament, that's good, but I mean, I really don't believe them. And plus, you can't insist that Iran is not allowed to have nuclear weapons when we have nuclear weapons. That doesn't make any sense. And then finally, he supported getting rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, allowing gays in the military. I support that 100%. I mean, if I was gay, I wouldn't want to be in the military, but, you know, if I was gay and wanted to be in the military, I should be allowed to be in the military, and I should be allowed to I should be allowed to vocalize my sexual orientation if I want to. The only exception would be is if I made a move on another soldier and violated their individual rights, then I should and could and should get kicked out. But as long as I'm not hurting anyone else, if I'm gay, I should be allowed to be in the military. So that was a positive. But, I mean, that's one out of how many? So, vague speech. It was awful. I've run out of time. That's all. See you guys later.